Hi there, it's Angela, and today I will show you how to make such cute spring bookmarks on your own. Materials you will need: 3 small pieces of paper. I will draw my bookmarks on 300 GSM watercolor cotton paper as it is more rigid and the bookmarks will last longer. Tape, graphite pencil, eraser, and some yellow, some blues, some pinks, red, brown, purple, green, and any small brush. Mine is synthetic. I'll also use colored pencils for accents and water, of course. So let's go. I'll start by attaching the paper with scotch tape to a wooden tablet I usually create my paintings on. It's not necessary, but this way it's more convenient for me, plus it will add a nice white frame to each bookmark when I remove the tape. If you like, you can paint right to the edge. Here is a rough sketch of what our bookmarks will look like. Let's start the first one by drawing a light vertical line approximately in the middle. This will be the stem of the hyacinth. After that, we will mark the bulb. Just draw a large drop below the stem. And then add a very light cloud-like top where the flowers will be. Keep in mind the pencil lines are very light, very light, so that later they can be easily blurred with watercolor. Now you can mark the bulb a little more strongly. The second sketch starts with drawing the middle of the upper daffodil peeking out of the corner, now adding petals. The second daffodil differs in that more petals will be visible, so to place them evenly, I first draw auxiliary axis. Again, very light movements. As I remember, the daffodil has 6 petals, so we need 3 axes. The first divide the circle exactly in half. The second and third respectively divide the semicircle into 3 equal parts. Now we can sort of put a petal on top of each axis. The third sketch will start by putting light marks where we want the illustration to end. Now we measure approximately the middle. Below the middle on the left, we mark a small oval for the spring snowflake, and above the middle on the right, we add another oval for the snowdrop. Now, within these already marked ovals, draw the flowers themselves. Let's move to the stems. The beginning of each stem is directly opposite the flower center, so put marks. Now draw a loop coming out of each flower. Make sure that the loop of one flower did not intersect with the mark of the beginning of the stem of another flower. Now we can connect the loop with the beginning of the stem with one smooth curved line. 1, and 2. Well, the hard part is over. Now all that's left to add is a lawn leaf for each floral, and the sketch is ready. At the end, I gently go over the drawing with an eraser to remove the auxiliary lines, ovals for the white flowers and axes for the daffodil petals. Oh, and I forgot something. I still need to add stars to the hyacinth sketch. Now we can start the watercolor part. We start by wetting the background of the drawing with water. Carefully go around the hyacinth and stars with a wet, clean brush, moistening only the background. Now pick up some blue on your brush and add it first around the bulb and then distribute it over the entire background. You may notice that the paint at the brush runs out and I don't add any new. That's because I want to create a slight gradient where the bottom is darker than the top. While our first bookmark is drying, we start the background of the second one. And just like that, we wet the background with water and then also add color. But with one key difference. This time I want the background to be brighter, so I paint absolutely the whole background, leaving no white spots, and then add accents with a thicker color. Let's move on to the third one. There are more details, but the main ones you need to bypass to wet in the paper are the flowers themselves, as they will be white, but if you accidentally wet the stem of the leaf, it's not crucial because the background will be quite light and the leaf and the stem of a darker tone. Gently add softly pink color, then add a shade darker at the edges while the paper is still wet and the paint is spreading itself. It's time to go back to the first bookmark, it's just dry enough. Wet the area with the blue. I do not cover the entire area with water, but intentionally leave small splotches. We pick up some yellow and apply it along the illuminated edge. Closer to the middle, we add light and dark tones of pink. Note that I do not paint over the whole area, but leave small gaps here and there. Next to the pink comes a little purple on the bottom edge, where we have a shadow. Now we add the stem with the green paint, followed by the leaves. I didn't pre-moisten the paper before applying the brown paint, because I know my cotton paper will allow me to distribute the color a little later, but if you have a cellulose paper which dries much faster, you might want moisten it before adding color like we did earlier. And some purple along the bottom edge to emphasize the shadow. Now you need to wipe the paper, to take off the top fresh layer of paint to indicate a slight glare on the bulb. To do this, the brush should be pre-washed from the paint and wiped with a tissue to squeeze excess water off of it. How to understand that you have done it correctly? The brush is wet, the lint is glued, but water does not drip from it. And now we can wipe the paper with this brush. A few more small details with a purple color. Picking up yellow and move on to painting the stars. Now we move on to painting the white petals of the daffodil, and for that we need a very light shade of purple, just a haze. Apply it to the base of the petals, where they are attached to the center. After that, we add a slightly darker shade of blue. Once again, I didn't wet all the petals before applying the purple, but if you have cellulose, you probably should do it, because the paint just won't merge so well. We repeat the same with the flowers from the third bookmark. At first we apply the lightest shade of violet to the base of the petals, then add a little bit of blue. Move on to painting the green parts. First layer needs to be yellow and then add a little green. After that it's time for the stems, and I do not use the same color for this. Closer to the flower the hue is more yellow-greenish, and in the places where the leaves are attached it's dark green. For this you can add a little blue or violet to the green paint and it will make the color deeper. In the same way I color the leaves. Firstly a little yellow, then comes the green. Now adding some details to the flowers. In the middle of the snowdrop I placed a green spot, and the dots on the spring snowflake were painted yellow with a little fleck of red. Moving on to the daffodils. Moisten the paper and cover it with yellow color. Closer to the edge, add brown or orange, and then a little red at the very edge will not hurt. In the very center we add small green circle and a tiny drop of water to make the paint spread a little. The watercolor stage is over and it's time for pencils to play their part. We will use them to add accents on the edges and small details. Let's start with the stars. When I accentuate the edges, like I did with the stars, I press harder on the pencil, but when I need to cover a wider space with color, as in the case of the daffodil blue background, I press much more lightly to only intensify the hue. I've decided to darken a bit the pink background of the third bookmark, but if you have an already intense shade, you don't have to. I use different pencils, a set of watercolor pencils and ordinary pencils that I have left from the time of elementary school. In this case, the type of pencils does not play any special role. What really matters is if you are comfortable to draw with them. Watercolor pencils give a softer, velvety line. Well, now that we have finished and made sure the bookmarks are completely dry, you can carefully remove the tape if you put it on, and enjoy! Peeling off the tape is probably the most satisfying part of working on a painting for me. Thank you for joining me in this simple bookmarks tutorial. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and if you painted with me, share your results, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this.